Jeffrey Muter asks, if Santa exists, do the mythological gods also exist, since we live out their particular stories, constantly reviving them in media? And is this a conflict with Christianity? I think the mythological gods exist. I think that the proper way to formulate their existence in Christian terms is to say they're demons, and I've explained that before. I explained it in the sense that because they are not pointing towards the hierarchy, the divine hierarchy, that they're not pointing towards the center of the story in which we are participating, then they are demonic in the sense that they are fragments, and they are fragmentary, and they pull things away. But it doesn't mean that we can't get some insight from their stories, because they are principalities. And so it's important to, I think it's important to pay attention to those stories. But that is definitely, but the fact that they are demons in that sense, that the fact that they are kind of residues, kind of chaotic residues of a former world, and they also kind of pull the world apart. And I think they let's say, you can see that the Romans were trying to find some kind of, sol invictus. They're trying to find this notion of a unifying thing, because they could see that all these different gods and, all these different cultures, all these different gods was very problematic. They're trying to unify things in the worship of the emperor and this notion of sol invictus. You see it in the time of Diocletian, but it was kind of artificial. It wasn't a real story. And so Christianity came and filled that need, where it gave the world a coherent hierarchy and a coherent story to enter into. And then the figure of Christ became, that union of heaven and earth, that is far more real than the emperor. And you can see it in the gospel. You see, in the beginning of, I forget which gospel it is. The beginning of the Gospel of St. Luke, I think. I'm not sure. That it says in the time of Caesar, of Augustus Caesar, and Caesar Augustus was called the Son of God. You see that in the poetry around Augustus, and the worship of the emperor began with Augustus, and Christ was there. So in the text in the Bible, you have this sense that Christ is represented as the Son of God, but you also have Augustus kind of. It's really this subtext. It's very far in the subtext that Augustus is also the Son of God. So you have these two sons of God, and so one of them is this humble, the humble Christ who changed the world, was elevated to be the highest. And then there's Augustus, who is this political figure. And so it turns out that they were kind of moving towards this idea of the worship of the Son of God, but they were seeing it just in a political sense. I think Christ came and filled in that need for a regular, like an actual story you can live in, and that could encompass all the good aspects of Greek philosophy, of the best of Stoicism. All of that could kind of enter into it, which they were struggling to do at the time of Diocletian, and after that. Anyway, that is my vision of it.